Starting your own practice is hard for many chiropractors. It's riddled with both struggles and successes. But here at the Chiropractic Philanthropist, we make it easy by having chiropreneurs and entrepreneurs share their struggles and lessons learned in life and business so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. And now here's your host, Dr. Ed Osborne.
How much better would your life be if you could practice by choice because you had multiple passive streams of income supporting you? Go to moneyripples.com or find their podcast, The Chris Miles Money Show, to learn more. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, TCP listeners, viewers, wherever you're coming in from. I have an incredible guest today, and that is actually Dr. Kelley Mulhern. Dr. Kelley, how are you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done one of these in probably like 8 weeks, but
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I like to do a bunch of recordings and kind of have a whole bunch in the can. So I'm excited to do this, but also I'm excited for the discussion because I've been learning more about what you're doing and, what you're offering and how you're helping doctors. So I want to get, that's my hook for today. I want to get to that discussion, but before we do, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and then we'll go from there.
Okay, great. So I am a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for over 16 years now. Just had my 16th anniversary. And woohoo! And I am married to a Ragin' Cajun named Michael, and we have a fur baby, Cassie. And we practice in St. Pete. But more recently, I've been interested in functional medicine / functional wellness for probably since I was in chiropractic school. And that is something that I've incorporated into my practice now. And I'm so passionate about it. I want it to be the dominant form of healthcare in this country. I feel that it is the answer to the healthcare crisis that we have in this country. And my goal is to help as many docs as possible get this going.
Perfect. And so I like how you kind of take the functional medicine and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, functional wellness. So what's the difference between, is it just, a synonym? What's the difference between the two?
That's a really great question. And I don't know that I have an official answer, but I will tell you that I chose, so the predominant term in the industry is functional medicine. As a chiropractor, I don't practice medicine. I practice chiropractic. And to me, wellness, I'm not practicing medicine. Functional medicine is not prescribing drugs to achieve better health. It's using natural forms of healthcare. So I call it functional wellness. Because that is more in line with what I see it as, a more holistic wellness approach to the whole body.
So it's not an either or. It's not like you do one or the other, like I should say chiropractic or functional wellness. You do both. You can help people with both.
I do. And yeah, in my brick and mortar practice, I do both. And then I can see patients through telehealth for functional medicine, not so much for chiropractic. I haven't figured out how to adjust people through telehealth, like stand against the wall and, lean this way. But yeah, so.
Probably what's coming next. If you could figure that out, that's the $1 billion idea right there.
There might be a chiro out there that has figured it out. So, hey.
Well, this is round 2. I know that you've been on the TCP podcast before, and so you probably know these questions are coming. And so one of the questions I love to ask is, what are some positive words of meaning, an affirmation, words that really kind of get your day going? What would you like to share with doctors?
So I have 2 kind of things that one of them is a recent, but the other one is the same one that I used 5 years ago because it is something I think about literally every day. And that is small hinges, swing big doors. And to me, the take home for that is there's so much chaos going on in life and the world gets crazy and we all want big change to happen and we don't know how to make it happen. And the important thing is to just take small steps every day, put one foot in front of the other, no matter how hard things seem to be. And you'll eventually get where you're going because it's the smallest little thing that can make the biggest change. And we see that with our patients chiropractically, we see it with supplementation, we see it with business. So that's been my standby for many, many, many years. But recently in the functional wellness sphere, a person who is actually a member of my Facebook group, Julie Fairley out of Australia, had something that I just love. And what she says is your diagnoses are not your destiny. And I think that is just incredible as we're trying to communicate to patients the importance of a natural approach to healthcare and incorporating functional wellness and helping doctors to understand how important that is. Yes, we can diagnose a patient, but that doesn't define them. And to me, I look at our job as like, let's give them a really great definition of themselves that's encompassing more than just that diagnosis.
Yeah, like that's always been part of the philosophy of chiropractic is we look at the person as a whole, as an individual versus, compiling all their different symptoms and diagnoses, right?
Yes.
So do you find that though still that people come in and they'll sit down with you? Because I had this, this is like, it's been 4 or 5 years since I practiced, but people would like literally refer to themselves as I am a ... like I am a Crohn's patient. I am this, or, do you still find that?
100%. And with, Dr. Google out there, it's pros and cons, I guess. The information is out there, but sometimes, a lot of times people come in thinking they have this and they've self-diagnosed and self-labeled and internalized that. And that's not it at all. Mm-hmm. So really helping people disconnect and realize that, okay, a diagnosis doesn't have to define you. You have a whole life and a whole health journey separate from that. And it served a purpose in that it triggered you to get help and you found us or somebody else that can help you in this sphere, but it doesn't determine your life.
And if we were to discuss, maybe a time of struggle, because we often talk about, some like building affinity with other doctors. We all have times where we feel overcome with grief or stress or the SHIT that happens in life. I was even thinking about it today, probably about an hour ago. I'm like, okay, there's some really hard stuff right now. However, I only allow myself like about an hour, 2 hours before I go and I switch my mindset to, okay, now I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. But is there ever a time where you've been experiencing like some sort of a struggle and what you learned from that experience and how you apply it to your life and business today? Yeah.
So I think probably all doctors can relate with, the COVID craziness has really impacted our business. And as I've shared, I'm not sure that we will be keeping our brick and mortar open. So that's definitely a time of struggle. But what I keep looking at is the patient in front of me and putting one foot in front of the other, those small hinges. And how can I help this person? And how can I communicate whatever this message is, whether it's with you or with the patient, to get me, but also that person to the next place that they need to be in life. So that's kind of a recent thing. And I think a lot of docs can probably identify with that because I've heard similar stories from a lot of my colleagues down here. But in reference to functional wellness, I think one of the things that really was a problem for me, was very difficult, was I had 2 patients probably within a 30-day window back to back that I failed. And I know that we all have those patients that we can't help, but the thing that just stuck in my craw was that I knew that I didn't know what I needed to know to help them. I knew it wasn't chiropractic. Well, chiropractic will help them with what they're dealing with, but it wasn't the source of their problem. And I knew it was in the gut, but I didn't know how to communicate it to them, and I didn't know how to test it, and I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I'd been in practice at that point for, 12 years. So that's really hard to be looking somebody in the face and say, I know that I don't know what I need to know to help you. And I'm a doctor and you're coming to me for help and I can't help you. So that kind of kicked me out of my safety comfort zone, having those 2 people back to back. And that's what prompted me to actually take action and start the functional medicine program, because there's a whole world of knowledge out there that they don't teach you in your regular curriculum, the functional wellness model and the testing and all of the stuff that goes along with that. So I did refer them to a functional medicine practitioner back then. But now I know the things that I would have done and could have done that could have kept them here in the place they were comfortable. But I'm so grateful for that experience, as hard as it was and as wounding to my pride as it was, because it moved me to where I am today.
I think if I recall, and it brings up some feelings for me, is when I was in practice and I'd be like, okay, this person, I can't help them, refer them out. And so that was me like maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. But today I would have a completely different opinion of that. I would be like, I would totally be like, I would be exactly like you. I totally resonates with me. I would be like, no, I want to learn how I can help these people. But also things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you mentioned, like you can do, virtual consults now, but you can't do that. You can't adjust someone over Zoom, but
Right.
So it does allow you to still fulfill your purpose, which is helping people. And yet, you're just doing it in another way. But I also feel like, would you agree that the functional wellness, functional medicine philosophy does have certain alignments with the chiropractic philosophy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's really like with chiropractic, you're looking at, it's a holistic approach and it's a natural approach. And, medication and surgery, absolutely, they have their place. But if we could improve and accelerate and accentuate somebody's health without needing drugs and surgery. I have yet to meet somebody who says, no, I'd rather just get knifed. It's all good. Go under the scalpel.
Yeah.
Nobody says that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of the times these people, especially that were coming into my office, the only solutions or alternatives they had were surgery, drugs, medicine. And I do believe, there's been a shift in the consciousness of people these days, and they are way more skeptical of that and big pharma than they have ever been before. So, what you're offering, and I dropped a link here too, to connect with you via email, but also to go and check out functionalwellnessdocs.com, is that people are looking for alternatives. This is the time. They're ripe for this philosophy.
Yeah. And I think people have more access to information. They are thinking more critically, and they're seeing that, okay, my parents went down that path of aging and suffering and multiple medications and multiple surgeries, and I don't want that for myself. And how can I be more proactive? And then from the practitioner standpoint, it opens up a whole new ball game. For a chiropractor, think of how many times did you do the same tired spinal talk, right? Nobody wants to know about their spine, but you talk about leaky gut, or you talk about female hormone balancing or thyroid issues. People want to hear that because that's specifically addressing their pain points, and it's talking to them and things that they want resolution with. So as a practitioner, it's exciting because you're learning more information and you're able to help a wider range of people with options that maybe you didn't even know existed. The challenge with incorporating functional wellness is it's a lot of information to learn initially in just the curriculum. No matter which program you choose, it's a lot to learn. And sometimes you have to unlearn what you thought you knew before you can, take in the new correct information. And then once you have learned the information, almost harder is how do you implement it into your practice? How do you educate your patients? How do you educate your community on this new thing? How do you communicate to somebody a concept as difficult as leaky gut or the hypothalamic axis, pituitary axis? Like, how do you simplify that? And for a chiropractor, there's tons of brochures and products out there that you can get branded that, chiropractic in sports and chiropractic in kids and chiropractic in headaches. But there's not really anything like that for functional medicine and functional wellness that I have seen. So I had to spend an enormous amount of time making it all for my practice, all the intake forms and the policies and procedures. And okay, I'm recommending this test, and the patient wants to know, of course, well, what is it? And how is it going to help me? And so really trying to get all of that in place, it can be a lot of work for the practitioner to incorporate. But that's where I come in.
And so that's like the function, like if anyone follows the link or if they go to Functional Wellness Docs, so docs.com, what are they going to see when they go there? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so Functional Wellness Docs, as I was creating all of the functional wellness collateral for my office, all the forms and procedures and chart note templates and all of that stuff, I thought other doctors could probably use this too. So when they first go to functionalwellnessdocs.com, they're going to come to a page that offers them a free PowerPoint on, I think right now it's on supplementation. Supplementation is a core component of functional wellness. And this is to help educate people as to why they don't just go to Walmart and buy their supplements. And the different things that we have to look at and consider from the physician's perspective when we're advising people on supplementation. So that I give for free, just so people can have that, whether they decide to do functional medicine, functional wellness or not. That is a useful topic for them to have in their arsenal. From there, they'll get a few emails from us that will introduce them slowly to different products that we offer. One of them is what we call the blood work cheat sheet. And basically that's a pre-programmed Excel file that has, over 60 analytes now. Wow. With the functional ranges programmed in. So little embarrassing, but I will admit that when I first started incorporating functional wellness, when somebody would say, "Hey doc, I'm bringing you my blood work," I'd be like, "Oh no," because I knew it was going to take me so long to look up all the functional ranges and, well, okay, what does it mean if their sodium's high and their potassium's low? And so I just eventually put it all into an Excel spreadsheet. So all the doc has to do, download it, have their assistant take the blood work from patient and enter in the values, and it automatically compares it to the pre-programmed functional ranges. And then there's also common explanations for highs and lows right in the same document. So wow, super easy. I made my husband do it the other day. He had never done it before. It took him, 5 minutes to enter the blood work in. So as the doc, you have your assistant enter it for 5 minutes and hand you the report. And it just jumps right at you. What's high, what's low, and what do you do about it? What do you recommend? Then you can use your clinical judgment from there. But super easy. And it also is fantastic for patient education. I literally have patients now saying, "Doc, is it time for me to redo my blood work?" Because they want to see the change in their blood work.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, honestly, that I totally get it. I mean, people would bring in their blood work, and if I would just be like, looking for what values are out of range. And then sometimes I didn't even know if that was right. Is that accurate or not? I mean, is that normal? Like, how do you even define normal? What's normal for that person?
Right.
So I love that. Take the guesswork out of your practice. Achieve certainty with the Insight scanning system. Chiropractors can now analyze a patient's condition more accurately, communicate findings more effectively, while allowing both the doctor and patient to track the effectiveness of your care. Find out how Insight can help grow 30% in as little as 3 months by filling out the practice survey assessment, a $149 value. Head to insightcla.com/PSA. The event code is TCP. So this would be something that I would see would be valuable, not for docs who are even maybe, that have a background in functional medicine or functional wellness, but this could be for any doc who wants to apply this inside of their practice with the patients that are coming in and bringing their blood work in.
Yeah, it really could be. And it's also fully editable and brandable, so they can put their own logo on it. But, there is not all doctors agree on everything. I know that's a shock. But so if there's a functional range in there, like I say, it's 1 to 4 and you feel that it's 2 to 5, well, you can go in and change it and change the formula and it'll populate and it'll be completely what you want it to be. So that was kind of the first step. And then the second step was we developed a whole membership library, essentially. And in that membership library, it has PowerPoints that docs can use to educate their community on functional wellness topics. It has fully customizable and brandable patient handouts on dozens and dozens of issues. And we've got clinical decision-making forms. So for example, somebody has a cortisol issue and you're trying to map out, okay, which cortisol level is high and which one's low and where do I pivot and which one do I supplement for? I have a worksheet that can kind of walk you through the basics. So really trying to simplify it. And this is great for somebody who's really just looking to implement, is just learning. Yeah. For somebody who's more experienced, they might not need those, but at the same point in time, it might show them something that they hadn't seen before. And so all of that's in there, chart note templates, But the other thing I'm really excited about is with functional wellness, one of the overwhelming components is the testing. There are dozens and dozens of laboratory companies that offer hundreds, if not thousands, of different tests.
Yeah.
So food sensitivity testing is a common one. Well, holy smokes, there's probably 30 companies that offer it, and they all say they're the best. So how do you compare? How do you know, other than signing up with every single company and looking at every single report and managing all the passwords and usernames? And so I started with one page of usernames and passwords, and then I migrated to a binder where I was printing copies of the reports. And I now have 4 binders just for the lab company, right? And they're like 2-inch binders. They're not small. And then I decided, this is crazy. I'm killing trees for no reason. Let's put it into an Excel spreadsheet. So I did that. And then I was like, no, I want an app. And so I looked for an app, and there wasn't an app. So then I think I asked you, hey, is there somebody that can program an app? Real simple. It's not that crazy, for less than 10 grand. And I think you laughed at me because that's the price of an app these days. So I found a way to make what's called a web app, and a web app looks like a traditional app. You just can't get it in the app store. So we include that as part of our basic, as part of our premium membership. And in that web app, I have over 24 laboratory companies with all their contact information. And I have over 200 laboratory tests that's fully searchable. You can search by name, by price, by analyte, by condition. You can mark favorites. You can jot down notes to yourself. And of course, that's going to be growing and expanding every time I learn about a new lab or a new lab test. So I literally use it every day, whether it's with patients in my practice or somebody on Facebook is like, hey, doc, what's a good company for this test? I'm like, hold on, I've got an app for that. So yeah, for me, that's been a game changer. It saves me a ton of time. So those are kind of the different things that we've done to help other doctors implement functional medicine or functional wellness into their practices, because I believe that should be the way of the future. Drugs and surgery are just creating sicker and sicker and sicker populations. There has to be a different way. So, and I believe this is it. So I invite other doctors that are interested in functional wellness to really explore it and dive in. There are resources available now that haven't been there before that can make the transition easier. And not only is it exciting to learn and you can help patients that maybe you couldn't help in the past, it can be an added revenue stream. You can do telehealth. You can incorporate more supplementation into your office and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you're not location dependent.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope,
which is, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest piece I posted about this last night. I'm like, if people think this is over, it ain't over, man.
Oh.
Like, everyone needs to have some sort of security of where they can help people regardless of whether their office is open or they're in a brick and mortar or however that might look. At least that's my feeling.
Yeah.
I love this though, because, number one, for me, the reason why I became a chiropractor was because I wanted to help people, regardless of whether it was, using my hands or it was, and locating and adjusting subluxation when necessary, or whether it was like, I just wanted to help people with their diet and nutrition or any of those other aspects as well. But, the second thing is it saves money. Like, I mean, well, actually, it saves time, which saves money, put it that way. So the faster that you are as a doc, or the more time that you get back, it really just does save you money. So I love that too. And it sounds like a massive resource.
Honestly, I think it is. Like, I was joking with somebody the other day and I said, I pretty much created the resources I wish I had access to when I first started. I mean, I literally have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on this stuff for my own practice. And if I could save another doc 200 hours, 400 hours, imagine how many people they can help in the meantime, even if that first person they help is themselves by maybe taking a vacation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be a game changer for a practice and for a community.
So docs who are listening, or if you're watching here on Facebook, and we're on Facebook Live. You can actually head down into the comments, and in the comments section, you'll see the website. It's functionalwellnessdocs.com. Or if you're listening, you can actually head to the URL and just check it out there, especially grab that free presentation. I'm always looking, when I was in practice, always looking for new, simple, easy ways, having someone give me at least get some of the work done for me, and then I can customize those for my patients. So let's see here. Let me back up to the TCP time machine. I know I did this with you before, but I'm going to do it again. I expect I'm going to get a different answer this time. So we're going to put you into the TCP time machine. We're going to send you back to a younger version of yourself. Now, this is right after you graduated from chiropractic college. Okay. Second time. And you have all the knowledge, all the life experience that you have today. What would you say to that younger self?
Invest in Bitcoin. About chiropractic and practice. I think it's an easy question, but it's a hard question, because on the one hand, I'd say, oh my gosh, get into functional wellness way sooner, because then I wouldn't have failed those 2 patients. But that's the process that had to bring me to where I am today. So I guess what I would say to that younger version is, okay, the going will get tough. It will. And you just have to trust in the process and just know that you're doing the right thing. You're in the right place, and just take care of the patient in front of you. Yeah.
Everyone has their difficult, everyone has their tough stuff. Yeah. I don't think there's anyone who's an exception. It's just how you deal with it, right? How you handle it moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. So if I was to ask you for one valuable resource, other than the valuable resource you've provided here for docs today, one valuable resource, it could be a book, it could be a podcast you're listening to, it could be an app, it could be, anything at all that you think that docs should run out and go check out right now. What would that be?
In addition to my stuff, my go-to podcast is this one. Love this podcast. So, and I think the approach that you take is so fantastic. I think for me, it's not so much one single resource. There's so many to pick from, between podcasts and books. Okay, I'll say my favorite book right now that I'm reading is called Toxic or Toxin. And I can't think of the guy's name. I should have been better prepared for this question.
That's okay.
But he was a practicing MD and had lots of difficult cases. And that really resonates with me, because I find that the older I get in practice, the more that kind of mechanical stuff this is terrible, but it's kind of boring. And I get more interested in the medical mysteries, the things that, I've been to 52 doctors and nobody can figure this out. Let's do a deep dive and let's figure it out. Yeah. And so that was his area of expertise back 20, 30 years ago. And so he's really been a pioneer, and I'll post it or email you the name and the exact title, but he did groundbreaking work in mold and Lyme disease and other things like that are real tricky.
You know what? I think life and in life and business, the mystery is what keeps it juicy. It's the juice of life. If otherwise it would be boring, but I'm always trying to figure things out or something new. And there's always something new to discover. It's kind of the purpose of life is to learn, right? I love that. Grow and learn. You got it. Perfect. So listeners, you can head over to functionalwellnessdocs.com and check that out. We also have in the comments here, or Dr. Kelley, I'll give your email if that's okay. So it's Dr. Kelley with an E, Dr. Kelley at functionalwellnessdocs.com. Doc, I want to thank you so much for being on the Chiropractic Philanthropist today. And for a round 2, it's very rare that we've had 2 people back on the show. So, or someone back on the show a second time. So I'm so honored. I get to acknowledge you for that. No, not for any other reason than I just find having people back on the show, we often have the same discussion. So I know that you've had some massive changes in terms of the last time that we talked, and life has changed so much for you folks. And
the last time we talked, I had just written and published my first book, which was recently re-released. And that's another good resource for healthcare, actually for anybody in small business. It's all about how to market a small business with relationships, just leveraging relationships and not multi-level marketing, but getting involved in your communities and building those relationships to grow your practice or your business. And so that was just re-released, I think last month, and we're getting ready to finally publish volume 2, which I wrote 6 years ago, but when I got back into practice, we didn't publish it. So
put on the sidelines. Now you're back at it. That's fantastic. Well, I've truly enjoyed speaking with you today.
Likewise.
And thank you so much for giving back and being on the show.
Thank you.
Want more certainty with your x-rays? Want to streamline your workflow more so you can see more patients? Or just want to limit your liability with x-rays? Get a second opinion. Dr. Cliff Tao is a chiropractic radiologist and reads diagnostic imaging studies for all chiropractors. His professional, highly detailed reports are provided next business day with stat reports available same day. Head to clifftao.dcdacbr.com for more information. That's Cliff Tao, TAODCDACBR.com today. You can also find us on Facebook and LinkedIn.
So you've heard the struggles, you've heard the successes, and this episode is done. But there's still so much more to come and so much more to learn. Head on over to thechiropracticphilanthropist.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive free practice building tips and strategies, including how to market your practice with your very own podcast and so much more. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Chiropractic Philanthropist.